Is Warhammer The Old World for you? Hi, my name's Joshua, also known as Prince of Bealtan on the internet, and today I'm coming at you with a bit of a different video. It's the new year, it's 2024, and with a new year comes an old game. Warhammer The Old World is coming back, and it's a lot sooner than we all thought. With a pre-order date of early January and a release date of the 20th, it's finally time for a generation of hobbyists to put their money where their mouth is. This game's been gone a long time and it's finally back. It's going to be a welcome return for some hobbyists, and for some it's going to be, well, why should I bother? You know, why this game? Why should I get into this one too? So I've made this video to look at exactly what the old world is and whether you want it or not. But to do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about how Games Workshop sells you a game and the different kinds of hobbyists there are. But first, let's dive a little bit into Warhammer Fantasy. Warhammer Fantasy was Games Workshop's original flagship title, set in a world that was an analogue of our own, albeit with orcs, elves and lizardmen. No rat people though, there were never any rat people, they don't exist. It was a titan of the tabletop industry with some of the brightest minds in wargaming behind it. It burned bright like the sun, growing and swelling over its lifetime until suddenly it went out. The details are kind of sketchy, what led to the end of Warhammer Fantasy. The easy explanation would be to simply assume that it was no longer profitable at the end of its lifespan, with some rumours stating that the entire system was being outsold by the company's paint and hobby product offerings. That being said, Warhammer Fantasy did not go quietly into that good night, however, with an epic ending known as the End Times, a series of 5 campaign books with compelling narrative, epic battles, and the rules to form grand alliances, mixing factions within the game to recreate the desperate stand at the end of time. Warhammer Fantasy faced its death with honour, and its successor came in its wake, a game whose story is still being told. But this video isn't about Age of Sigmar, it's about Warhammer Fantasy's return. It's about the old world. Games Workshop are a company. First and foremost, their core objective is to make profit, and what business would make profit without understanding their consumer base? There are multiple kinds of hobbyists, more than listed in this video, from Black Library buffs to Necromunda novices. I'm going to talk about a few of the different kinds in this video and what their approach to the old world might be, see which links up with yours the best. That's going to be the veteran, the new gamer, the new recruit, the PC gamer, interestingly enough, and the kid. Let's dive in. First we have the veteran. Now there's lots of connotations that come with being a veteran in wargaming, but for the purposes of this video I'm using it to mean someone who actively played and participated in Warhammer Fantasy during its original lifespan. Warhammer Fantasy has been extinct for 9 years, with Age of Sigmar releasing on the 11th of July 2015. Age of Sigmar was a high fantasy setting set in 9 mortal realms of magic. It started a new story with the embers of the old world. This was taken with mixed results at the time, with some hobbyists going so far as to burn their armies in protest to the release of Age of Sigmar. I suppose now they've had years to paint new ones for the return of the old world though, so... Age of Sigmar at launch was very different to the game it is today. I stand by it's one of the most fun pick up and play systems Games Workshop produces, but setting aside, the game was vastly different from Warhammer Fantasy, and this left kind of a square-based hole in lots of people's hearts. In the meantime, some of these veteran hobbyists stuck with Warhammer Fantasy and its style of gameplay. They played old editions through files found on the high seas or purchased at car boot sales. Some hobbyists sought out alternatives from competitors like Mantic Games and their awesome game Kings of War, which sought to build on the kind of gameplay people were missing from Warhammer Fantasy. Some have been patiently just waiting for a return to the world that they know and love. So, the question is, what are y'all going to do now? There's no doubt this game is for you. Looking at this game's closest analogue, say the Horus Heresy, you've both got premium games with rich lore, oozing character, full of rules that aren't necessarily the simplest but offer a unique and flavourable experience you're not getting anywhere else. You'll also find another close analogue with the launch boxes here, a little bit higher priced with a huge array of awesome figures. So the question is, if this game is for you, what are you going to do about it? I guess there's 2 options here. The first is that the veterans buy into the game. They purchase reinforcements for the armies that are long dormant and begin new ones that they've lacked the opportunity to these past 9 years. Or there's the second option, in which case they don't. They don't buy new models. They buy the books, they continue with their existing models and don't necessarily pay into the system. I don't know which way this will go, and I'm not sure neither Games Workshop does either. This is why you'll find kind of a lack of a bunch of new kits, at least at the game's launch, a commitment to some products in resin, which is a little bit cheaper to produce than plastic. I think it's all up in the air for these guys. If you fall into that category, let me know what you think about The Old World in the comments. I'd be really interested to get your perspective. Next, we've got the new recruit, and now, I'm of the opinion that Warhammer is for everyone, just like the sign says. There's not a single Warhammer game you can't have a go at if it sparks joy, and that should be the first and foremost thing that you consider. But we're going to talk a little bit about marketing and accessibility though, so let me paint you a slight picture. When you walk into a Warhammer store, you find yourself met with a lot of things. Aside from an eager staff member, you'll also be met with an intro table. These tables typically have small displays on them urging you to try Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000. These are the company's flagship games. They receive the most support, be that in models, coverage, or rules updates. You're being invited into an ecosystem with these games. It's a popular one, and one that you'll be keen to find players with that match your interests. They also have tailored products. Unlike the other games, they have starter sets, and I mean proper starter sets. Starter sets that assume you know nothing about wargaming. You've never put a miniature together before in your life. They have getting started magazines, they have paint sets, easy to build push-fit miniatures, really holding your hand into this brand new hobby you're discovering. A lot of people think the Vanguard boxes, the combat patrols, they were confusingly called start collecting boxes, actually. But while they're called start collecting boxes, they're kind of more like starting new army boxes, not necessarily starting collecting Warhammer. They'd like you to start with a tailored starter product. So how does this factor into the old world? And I'm getting there, I promise. Last year in May 2023, I attended Warhammer Fest and was fortunate enough to attend a seminar on Warhammer The Old World. This was led by Eddie Eccles and Adam Troke. Shout out to you guys, you're awesome. And they took us on a whirlwind reveal of The Old World, met with thunderous applause. I swear, they showed the Tomb King and everyone just, it was unreal, the place lit up. And then they showed the Bretonnian and it got even louder. I've never heard cheering like that before. But one thing stuck out to me during all the things they were saying, and I even tweeted about it, which made it over to Reddit, and that was another story. But one of the things that was mentioned was there wasn't a starter set for the old world. This is where the confusion came. Now, the reception to this statement was, there's not going to be a box where you can buy an army and start playing. They're not really going to commit to this game at all. But what that actually means is, like with Age of Sigmar and 40k, you're not going to get an introductory product. You are going to get an awesome launch box like the ones we've seen and the ones that are going to go live this month, but you're not going to get that kind of new hobbyist product. You're not going to walk into Warhammer with this. At least that's not how it's designed. This builds off some other things that Adam and Eddie said. They said that we know this likely isn't going to be your first game, your first route into the Warhammer hobby. We imagine this will be your second or your third. This kind of assumes that you're an entrenched hobbyist, you're a little bit further down the Warhammer pipeline. You've got some idea and some enjoyment already, and you've got an educated approach as to whether you think this product is for you. So to clarify, new hobbyists, it's not that this game isn't for you, but you might not have an easy time on your hobby journey if this is your first foray into Warhammer. There isn't going to be, at least at the time of writing, several starter sets with different price points that you might see with the likes of 40k or Age of Sigmar. You might not see this game as much in your local game store or actively promoted as much in a Warhammer store, so it might be slightly harder for you to find an opponent to play with. But if you really love the setting, and you have a friend that also loves the setting, or you're willing to champion this game in your community, you might be surprised with who comes out of the woodwork. But just have all this in mind when you dive into the old world for the first time. Now we have the PC gamer. Now this is an unusual one. It's an untapped market, at least in my eye. But the years have been really kind to the Warhammer franchise in the gaming realm. So that's due to the care and dedication of Creative Assembly and the handling of the Warhammer IP with the game series Total War Warhammer. These games are awesome, and strategy fans have found themselves introduced to a game setting full of charm, character, and chaos. Unfortunately, while this series is popping, the game that spawned it was long dead. and that means there are plenty of people out there who could have been potential hobbyists with the release of the Old World that found themselves a little bit confused when they walk into a Warhammer store. For the past few years, these hobbyists have walked into shops thinking, I'd love to go in and buy some Bretonnians, they're my favourite faction to play and I love the style and the heraldry of the army, but they couldn't because they didn't exist in Age of Sigmar. It's been a confusing time for you guys, and I'm happy to say that that confusing time is kind of coming to an end. You're going to be able to engage with the factions and characters that you've fallen in love with, and I feel like if you are a PC gamer, if you are someone who is interested in trying out Warhammer through this lens, you might find some joy here. Finally, the last kind of customer, hobbyist person is one I've made up. It's called The Kid, and this is where I come in. I was quite young during the heyday of Warhammer Fantasy. Now, to me, Warhammer Fantasy, when I was younger, it was the least cool one, you know. It was the one that fewer kids my age had at the local store, or at the gaming club, or at the after-school club. It was the one your parents couldn't quite justify because, you know, you already collected Space Marines, or you got the Lord of the Rings set. You know, you already had Marneus Calgar and Aragorn and everything. You weren't going to get this one as well, you know, not when you didn't have all those models painted. There's not much change these days, to be honest. But I was kind of, as someone growing up and getting into Warhammer in the early noughties, I was checking in as Warhammer Fantasy was kind of on its way out. That didn't mean I didn't like it though. I was interested in Dark Elves, they had really cool models. I was interested in Tomb Kings because I had seen Brendan Fraser in The Mummy and all of that awesome imagery. And I'd seen the Lizard Men, who were cool because dinosaurs were cool. Dinosaurs were like the coolest thing to my tiny mind. Now, armed with skill, a little bit, passion, a lot of that, and patience, to put these models together, not to mention the income to buy into a new system, I guess these kind of hobbyists like me were keen to know what all the fuss is about. We've had the stories of the Old World passed on to us, and, you know, it might be time to make some stories of our own. And what does the return of the Old World mean to you? Are you one of these people? Which group would you fall into? This is a video I've been really interested to make and touch base with you guys and really figure out what we're all feeling as hobbyists on this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, it really supports my, my channel. And I will be seeing you in the next one. Or maybe I'll be seeing you in the Old World. Who knows? Might be time for a visit. Bye-bye.